it's kind of like the title explains, to be honest. Yeah, women are to blame for the Flash failing. Ezra Miller's blamed for the Flash failing, but also kind of not, because the director's come out and been like, but I'd recommend it, actually.
Yeah.
I'd
Wow,
recommend
people are
it.
still talking about this movie.
No.
Well, they are. They are, because the director has never said anything about the film until now. And this is the director that's going to be doing Batman, the Brave and the Bold in this new DC universe. So it's a bit, his comments are a bit, not good. So this was an epic failure, but basically, here we go. He says it's the result of a mental health situation. It turned out the way it turned out. Let's say, I mean, he was dealing with a mental health situation. And well, when you make a movie, there are things you just can't control. One of them is when actors have a public relations crisis. He got into trouble, was arrested in Hawaii, etc., etc. This is Ezra Miller. I don't know if you know this, Bo. This Ezra Miller guy was like full blown melting down on the lead up to the Flash being released. He threw chairs at women, kept getting arrested.
Oh, yeah.
At a certain point, you had a higher chance of being attacked by Ezra Miller than you did a shark.
Yeah.
I was aware of a fair amount of it, because at the time we did a segment or two about him on Lotus Eaters. So I'm absolutely fairly aware. There's even like actual clips of him being like really aggressive to fans and stuff, and saying all sorts of crazy stuff. And
chokeslammed a fat woman in Iceland.
Maybe I wasn't aware of that one necessarily.
Did you not see that one?
I know, choke slam.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can find it. Let me have a look.
Like what he did a DDT on a little kid or something. You'll be telling me next. No,
it wouldn't surprise me at this point with him.
He's from what I remember, everything I remember about it, just thinking this is a full-blown scumbag. I don't care if you're trying to argue that it's some sort of mental breakdown, whatever. No. Again, a pattern of behavior of someone who thinks the rules of society, of civilization, don't apply to him, that he can do and say as he pleases. You could try and tell me he's having some sort of emotional or mental breakdown or whatever. I don't buy it. I'm not going to buy it. No, this is someone whose power and quote unquote fame went to their head and thought they could do or say anything. That's what happened here, right? Am I wrong? Hello?
No, you're correct. Yeah, I mean, and I
don't know. I want to get your reaction, live reaction.
Yeah,
you've never seen this.
I don't think so. Oh well, that's actual bodily assault, isn't it? Yeah, that's someone that is drunk, entirely drunk on their own power. They think they can do something like that and get away with it.
Absolute mentalist.
When you said chokeslam, I was hoping that he'd like pick her off the ground.
Oh, no, he couldn't do that.
Like the way Kane used to do it.
He's not that strong.
She might have had a few people wait on him.
She's of the rotund variety.
Yeah,
unfortunately. Yeah, this guy's mental. Like, like legitimately just and that he was accused of having like a weird sex cult and having like children with bullets in their mouth in his house and stuff like this. It was crazy, the stuff that was coming out.
Yeah.
You didn't even hear about that, did you? So he got accused of letting some woman stay in his ranch, his property, and they're like the woman's 2-year-old kid was walking around with like bullet casings on the floor and had some in its mouth and stuff, and it was just pretty mental. And wasn't he accused of like raping someone in Germany as well, or something like that as well?
There is some claims that there's some bad behavior there. Plus, you forgot about the violent incident where he threw chairs and crap at people in Hawaii. Speaking of
I said that
Hawaii.
at the start.
Yeah, but I mean, he did it more than once.
Yeah,
That wasn't-
he robbed a couple, didn't he? He
Yeah,
stole a couple's wallet and their passports. And was
Yes.
like, "I'm going to bury
Yeah,
you. I'm
yeah.
going to
he was all it was all over the place in Hawaii. They were like protecting him like he was like some kind of like a sought after criminal elsewhere in the world. It was nuts. But no, he's thrown multiple chairs. The guy's got a chair fetish or something. I don't know.
So strange.
Yeah.
Very unhinged, short-tempered guy.
Mm.
The other thing is, I
Yeah.
seem to remember, is that he just simply hasn't got the physiognomy to be a hero. Right? He hasn't got the face of a hero.
Yeah.
Right? You want him to be a superhero. Well, he doesn't look like one, I'm afraid.
Yeah, he's not masculine in any way.
Mm-mm. Well, he's absolutely not masculine at all.
He claims to be a they them, doesn't he? So
Yeah,
at that point he's fucked anyway, to be honest. God. So the director continues, and says, I had in general a very good experience with him. He's a great actor, a great comedian. I was very surprised by him, but then towards the end, I came across all of this. I'd say this happened months before the release, just before the premiere, and well, it was a setback. So he does kind of directly blame Ezra Miller there, which is good. And then and then he goes on to say something a bit weird, I think. So he says, when a $200 million movie is made, the studio expects to bring everyone, even your grandmother, to the theater. And says that studios want to hit the 4 quadrants, which are men, women, and everyone else. Says, in private conversations later on, I learned things like how a lot of people weren't interested in Flash as a character. Half of those 4 quadrants, the 2 female quadrants, many women didn't care about Flash as a character, which is not true because there's been a long-running The Flash TV show, which people have well loved.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, maybe that is the case because look at him. Then why did you hire this freak? Like, women want to look at attractive men, not dysgenic they-thems.
Yeah, and when they were bringing Flash into the DCU, people were upset that they weren't bringing in Flash from the TV show that was already popular at the time. Instead, they go and make this great hire right here with this they-them guy. So yeah, if they would have, I guarantee you, if they would have hired the other actor from the actual show and brought him in, it would have done way better than what this movie did.
Well, a lot of it. Oh yeah, I mean, there's so many issues. They hired a guy that fundamentally doesn't look like he can run properly either to play a character that's runs. Like he runs like a fucking freak. Like he just doesn't even run properly. So there's so much stuff.
Yeah, his
so
running
much
was weird.
I'm
especially
guessing
watching
it's
it in the movie.
nepotism, right? I guess, I don't know, I'm genuinely asking. Is he someone's nephew, someone's cousin? You know, like why?
So he comes from a very influential financial and well-connected family.
Right.
He honestly, when he was younger, he was a very good actor. He had a future in front of him. He just went mental afterwards. When you have that much money and you're brought up through this circumstance and situation, oftentimes you're growing up, you just don't process it well. So the level of entitlement, I think, in some people is just like a time bomb for mental illness, bad behavior, et cetera, et cetera. So lack of personal awareness is probably something that he probably suffered a lot because he never had a locus of identity, that he could draw upon because it was all external to him. Right. Because it was all about accomplishment or performance and oftentimes not even being himself. So again, some people just don't do it well. And while he was very good at acting, I don't think he separated himself from the characters he played very well. He was many of his roles, he was asked to be very mature in the roles beyond the years that he had. So I don't believe he was allowed any kind of innocence when he was growing up as well. I mean, again, not to psychologically
that
break him
excuse.
down, but I'm just saying is
I mean-
oftentimes that's what happens. I mean, if you grow up around the Hamptons or anything like that, you're going to see some pretty wildly odd behavior from all ages, to be fair.
It is a classic thing, isn't it? Almost or cliche or a trope or whatever you want to say. But child actors don't grow up to be sort of well balanced adults very often. I mean, it's nearly all of them, right?
Well,
I think
and
maybe Josh Brolin is an exception to the
there
rule.
are a
but
few.
There are a few,
Yeah,
but
well,
it's-
okay, so you look at Ron Howard. Ron Howard
Yeah,
progressed through
another one.
a lifetime of
Sure.
acting and then becoming a director, producer, etc. But he also had a strong family surrounding him, and there was no power dynamic imbalance between child and parent. There was not a ring of people that were forming a bubble for Ron Howard or many other of the well-balanced child actors. It's I give a lot of credit to whoever was the guidance for Tom Holland specifically, because while he does look young, he's not any longer. But at a very young age, he had a lot of opportunities. And I think having a firm grounding was very important. A lot of these families, the power dynamic gets screwed up very easily, and the child ends up not nearly as innocent, and in a rare circumstance where they literally can have anything they want at any time. That's really bad for kids.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Do we buy the excuses he's given, the director's given for the movie's failure?
I mean, he certainly couldn't control this guy, right?
No.
Ezra. But the other thing that really wasn't in his control is the number of authors and directors and other things that I think are brought to light in this article, if not many of the others that are covering this. But this is the only one that includes the entire conversation to give you an idea what Machete actually said, rather than what Variety's coverage was, which is, the ladies were to blame. This wasn't a 4-quadrant film, which isn't the full story. I mean, that's all true. But it was an ill-conceived idea to pursue a solo Flash film. They were on the right track to do Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, which are the primary 3 elements of DC. You have to have those 3 well established and in a good place for you to shoot off of any of that, which is why I think, the second Aquaman movie also lost ground. It wasn't just because, it's based on a Snyderverse situation. It's because it just that there was nobody at the wheel, nobody at the tiller, whatever you want to call it. There's nobody firmly guiding any of these properties beginning to end. So
So
Yeah,
what was the angle where they're blaming women? Was it that they expected women to love Ezra Miller and go and watch this, and they
Yeah.
didn't, and so now they're just
Yeah.
blaming them? Just that.
well, and
Crazy, isn't it? Crazy.
well, they spent an inordinate amount of money on this film too. I think at the time, Mr. H, Nate and I covered just how ridiculous the spending was on this, and the fact that it was never going to achieve, financial success. And it went through multiple ideas. This is the problem with committee filmmaking, which is what most of the studios have now become, because they're so captured ideologically by how to properly, kowtow to all these different rules that seem to change every few months, right? By all the virtue signaling has to change. Oh no, we can't use this virtue signal anymore.
And let's be honest, none of the stuff that he's talking about in this article helped the movie at all. But all that aside, the movie sucked. So I mean, there's that too. Literally, the first time I watched it was at home, and I had to fast forward through it just to see the Michael Keaton parts. Just because I was just like, this is terrible.
Oh, I should have sent you my screener. It was like you would have been able to get through it quickly. Regardless, this is just one of those things where Andy Machete isn't really doing anything wrong. He's kind of telling the tale of what actually happened behind the scenes. I feel like sometimes
but he does recommend it. He does recommend the movie. He's doing something wrong when he recommends the movie, and also, that it's bad judgment when he says, "Yeah, I like the film. I recommend it. I recommend it to anyone." It's like, mate, you're making the Batman Brave and the Bold. Don't, You know, like
But
you don't need
that's
to lie about it now. You don't need to recommend it now. Save face. Just shut up. It's the
Yeah.
same as James Gunn coming out and being like, "Yeah, it's one of the best comic book movies I've ever watched." It's like, really? You're on crack cocaine then,
But-
mate. Shut up.
Yeah.
but Brave and the Bold isn't even really a thing yet.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, sure. But
No,
it's
I'm
still-
just saying. I mean, you got to keep that firmly in place. You know, the
Yeah.
opportunity to make another terrible film.
Yeah.
Like I said, ultimately, I don't really believe it was entirely his fault. And again, I mean, I can go through a whole lot of other things that were, you know, a problem with this film. Just how many times it was reshot. But the entire second half of Snyder's Snyderverse was not to be made. Should not have been made. There was not
Mm.
enough commercial interest in it to begin with. And I know a lot of people are like, well, this film did well. Did it really? You know, was Man of Steel really a critical and fan success outside of certain people? You know, and it was kind of the beginning and the end, to be fair, for comic book films, because Snyder guaranteed deconstructionism of all of these characters and of the fundamental understanding of the fans' knowledge of these worlds, right? You
Yeah.
know? It was very badly done, but
Yeah. Right. Let's move on from this now.